This is the story of a morning routine that became a murder scene. On a busy sidewalk in Chicago's South Loop, a mother kissed her son goodbye, unaware that the handwritten note she packed in his lunchbox would be the last gift she ever gave him. Moments later, 31-year-old Romeca Blackmon was dead, shot in the face outside her child's school. The shooter was immediately identified and detained. But here is the chilling anomaly that sent shockwaves through the victim's family. The suspect walked free just hours later. How could a clear act of deadly violence result in an immediate release? And what hidden, shocking act, caught by witnesses, would eventually lead prosecutors to file murder charges months after the fact?
It was September 8th, a typical Monday morning in the South Loop. Romeca Blackmon, a loving and kind mother, was completing the routine shared by millions, dropping her young son off at school. We know that before she left him, she shared a final kiss and told her then 6-year-old to have a great day. Her last post on social media captured the small, intimate detail of her love, a photograph of a note she tucked into his lunchbox. She walked away from her child's school, just blocks from Cermak Road and State Street, ready to face her day. But she never made it. Romeca Blackmon's life was tragically cut short in a hail of gunfire. But this was no random act. This was the culmination of a bitter rivalry, a conflict that had been festering for years. But why did this simmering conflict boil over into bloodshed right at the front steps of an elementary school?
The history between the victim, Romeca Blackmon, and the woman eventually charged, Quadajah Johnson, was complicated and poisonous. Both 31 years old, they were connected by one central detail. They shared children with the same man. This shared paternity created a volatile situation, one that authorities were arguably aware of. Evidence shows that Johnson had been systematically attempting to build a defense long before the murder. She filed protective orders against Blackmon, including a stalking no-contact order. Blackmon's family later stated they believed these orders were nothing more than an attempt to create a paper trail against Romeca. On that fateful morning, Johnson, identified by her alias Holly, was also present near the school with the shared baby's father. The two women immediately engaged in a verbal argument. The confrontation quickly escalated past shouting. The man they shared, the baby's father, involved himself directly in the violence. The shooter was clearly identified by police scanner audio, and the weapon was recovered. Authorities knew who fired the gun immediately, yet what happened next defied explanation, leaving a grieving family abandoned and demanding answers. The dispute quickly spiraled out of control. Prosecutors detailed the horrifying final moments of Romeca Blackmon's life. As the women argued, the baby's father stepped in, not as a peacekeeper, but as an aggressor against Blackmon. He placed Romeca Blackmon in a chokehold. During this struggle, the suspect, Quadajah Johnson, walked back to her vehicle. She retrieved a gun, a weapon she legally possessed, holding both a FOID card and a concealed carry license. She returned to the scene, and while Blackmon was still being physically restrained, shot her multiple times, striking her in the face. Blackmon was rushed to Stroger Hospital, but died from her injuries.
In the immediate chaos of the crime scene, police located Johnson and took her into custody. The case seemed straightforward. A fatal shooting witnessed by multiple parties following a confrontation. But within a short time, the investigative focus evaporated. Johnson was released. For months, Blackmon's mother, Tina McMiller, and the entire family were consumed by pain and confusion. They were at a loss over why the suspect wasn't charged then. 3 painful months passed with no murder charge filed against Johnson.
McMiller summarized their ordeal, saying, "This has been such a hard 3 months. It's been painful. It's been terrible." Johnson maintained that the shooting was an act of self-defense, but police eventually revisited the case, arresting Johnson in Des Plaines in December 2025, charging her with first-degree murder. What previously unseen or suppressed evidence forced prosecutors to act months later, ultimately proving that this was calculated violence and not an act of self-preservation.
When Quadajah Johnson finally appeared for her detention hearing, the courtroom was packed. Her legal team presented the defense that she had acted only to protect herself. But the prosecution unveiled one piece of behavior, one tiny, visceral detail that utterly destroyed the credibility of her self-defense claim. Prosecutors revealed that after Johnson retrieved her gun and shot Romeca Blackmon multiple times, she turned away from the dying mother and performed a celebratory fist bump with the baby's father.
This calculated action was the ultimate twist in the case. The judge, recognizing the gravity of the celebratory act, immediately rejected the claim of self-defense. The judge stated definitively that celebrating in the street after shooting someone is not self-defense. Johnson was ordered to remain in custody. The family, who had waited patiently through the pain, finally received the justice step they had longed for. As Romeca's mother said, "I want justice so I can have peace and mind. It won't bring her back, but it will be little peace now. I just feel like a big bundle has been lifted off my head and heart."
The case of Romeca Blackmon is a devastating reminder that conflict, when fueled by rage and shared history, can turn deadly in the most vulnerable places. For 3 months, the image of a mother dropping off her son was overshadowed by the question of why her killer walked free. But in the end, it wasn't the gun or the rage that sealed the suspect's fate. It was a brief, shocking moment of cold-hearted celebration, a single fist bump that proved the shooting was murder, not survival. The fight for justice for the mother who packed a handwritten note for her son is now moving forward.